Understanding of Thoreau's phrase means that following the dictates of one's own conscience instead of prevailing convention, to act in accord with your own feelings instead of following the crowd. And in considering this profound statement, I thought about what it has meant to me at 4 different points in my life. From my first exposure to it in high school, when my immature conscience thought that my youthful wisdom far outweighed the archaic beliefs of my parents. It took on yet a different meaning in my 20s when I began to question my role as a member of the military. And while I find it embarrassing, there was about a 20-year period when I lost sight of it, and conformity was, in fact, my modus operandi. And as Rita Mae Brown wrote in Venus Envy, the reward for conformity was that everyone likes you except yourself. I'm so very grateful that that point is behind me. I'm at a point in my life where I live it according to my values and no one else's. And while there are many wise women and men who have written on the subject of conformity with much more eloquence and knowledge than I possess, and that's okay. From them, I gain a deeper understanding of how it applies to my life and how it helps me to develop my own emotional and spiritual narrative. With that in mind, imagine my surprise when I found a quote from Barry Goldwater. And some of you young people don't know who Barry Goldwater is, but we do. He was conservative before there was such a thing as conservative. But he wrote that equality, rightly understood as our founding fathers understood it, leads to liberty and to the emancipation of creative differences. Wrongly understood, as it has been so tragically in our time, it leads first to conformity and then to despotism. With that in mind, I believe I am tasked to respect the value of dissent, whether I agree with it or not. Now, finding one's own truth isn't easy, and quite frankly, it requires concerted effort. And I urge each and every one to read Carl Sagan's essay, The Fine Art of Baloney Detection, in which he wrote, "Finding the occasional straw of truth awash in a great ocean of confusion and bamboozle requires intelligence, vigilance, dedication, and courage. But if we don't practice these tough habits of thought, we cannot hope to solve the truly serious problems that face us, and we risk becoming a nation of suckers, up for grabs for the next charlatan that comes along." And I found this profound missive with the help of Google, and if there's a patron saint of serendipity, my hat's off to him or her. Now, it's much easier for me to hear my internal cadence when I feel confidence in my worth. And while I'm most often at ease with who I am, I do experience the occasional times of self-doubt. And while this may sound counterintuitive, I'm really thankful that it's part of my life experience, as I see it as part of the cosmic system of checks and balances that keeps my confidence from mutating into arrogance. And I can't speak for anyone else, but I take issue with self-importance. I'm sure we've all experienced the worst behavior of those who feel that their truth is somehow superior to ours. In times like those, I find comic relief in the words of George Bernard Shaw, who wrote, "Forgive him before he believes the custom of his tribes are the laws of nature." Now, I accept that my life can be viewed as unconventional, and yes, I've knowingly and gladly taken the road less traveled. Heck, I've even been known to take the occasional leaps of faith. I feel fortunate to, more often than not, that those leaps have been rewarding. All in all, I take great pride in my life and the journey thus far. As Tolkien wrote, "Not all those who wander are lost." And while some may view my life and the choices I've made and scratch their heads in bewilderment, I am at peace with my eccentricities. While I may not be considered a success by conventional standards, I feel I'm very successful at being myself. And to paraphrase William H. Maudlin, I feel like a fugitive from the laws of averages. And as I mentioned earlier, marching to the beat of one's own drum, it isn't always easy and frankly takes courage. At the same time, it lays the foundation for emotional freedom. I believe it's only when you march to the beat of your own drum do you make progress. So the question before us is, why is that such a challenge? As I see it, the answer lies in our past. Because early in life we are told there are right ways of doing things and we should not deviate from the norm. Well, boys and girls, it's a matter of recognizing when it's okay to do things and view things differently. Safety should never be compromised, but pretty much everything else is fair game. So, my friends, take a chance and color outside the lines. Now, and I recognize that anyone who doesn't fit in the norm often pays the price of disapproval. Feeling accepted and liked is a source of emotional security, and we often do our best to follow conventional wisdom, and yet in doing so, one creates a double-edged sword. Do we deny ourselves and our creativity? I'm afraid if we put in place behaviors and attitudes that not only create artificial limits, but it also tamps down our spirits as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps now is the time to step outside our comfort zones and celebrate our individuality. Perhaps instead of getting lost in the crowd, we can take a chance and dare to stand out. We can get creative. We can do something extraordinary, and yes, even be unusual. Find your own pulse, your own rhythm, and your own beat, and begin marching to that. In closing, I'd like to say I believe Thoreau's phrase is as much about respect for others as it is for choosing one's own course of action. With that in mind, I support each of you as you march, waltz, gallivant, stride, boogie, or sashay to the beat you hear. Thank you.